we're here at Kniteforce today with Chris, Nick and Tom, who are the original Smarties.
Hello.
So can you guys tell me, please, how did the Smarties first come together?
Oh,
That's your fault, isn't it, Tom? Blame Tom.
Me and Chris worked together.
At Waitrose.
We were at Waitrose. We were stacking baked beans, and we said, "Oh, I've got a similar interest into music." He said, "Yeah, I like music. I like rave music. I like hip hop." And we sort of joined forces as doing DJ work together.
You'd already done a couple of events, hadn't you? You had another friend, I can't remember his name. Monty, that's right.
Yeah.
And you'd done a couple of events, and he said, "Do you want to come and play?" And I said, "Yeah, all right."
Yeah.
And then it happened. How did you know Nick?
I knew Nick through Nick's girlfriend at the time, brother. Yeah. So that's how I knew Nick, and Nick's been doing music for how long?
Before then, since I was about 12, 13.
Okay.
I remember Tom saying, "I know someone who's got a studio," and that was a bit like nowadays the equivalent of saying, "I know somebody who's got a personal jet." Like, because no one had studios. Like nowadays, you've got a studio on your phone, but in those days, nobody even had computers, let alone anything else. So for someone to have an actual studio, that was wild. Like, that was crazy stuff. You know, and to actually have that, like, I do remember because when we first went to your place, and he
disappointed you were.
No, from my perspective, it was like, oh, that's amazing, because it was in his front room of his flat. Was it in Barking?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like an actual computer, which was something you hardly ever saw. You saw it on TV. You never actually saw it in real life. And like a big keyboard, and I mean all the things that nowadays we wouldn't even bat an eyelid.
The big desk.
It was amazing.
Big set desk.
How could anybody possibly understand how all that worked? So yeah, it was a pretty impressive thing.
So guys, talk to me about the individual roles you each play within the group.
Nick does the music, and me and Tom just hang on his coattails going, "Please."
I thought I was the driver. He often said to me, "Wait in the van." I said,
Do you know, I'd never heard, I'll be perfectly honest, apart from the Sugar Hill Gang, I've never really paid much attention to hip hop or anything like that. Wasn't really in my thing. I was more pop. So I had no experience at all. So the best thing, I think, one of the best things, when they came and they wanted to do some stuff, they brought this stack of records with them and they wanted to take some, because I had a sample, an old S950. And all of a sudden it opened up this whole new world of all these different things, like taking a breakbeat. I mean, I'd always used drum machines. I'd used breakbeats, but not like they were using them. They were taking them off, lifting them off records and using breakbeats and stuff. And I'd never actually experienced that. So being able to sit there and watch, they knew the music intimately. I mean, it was like, it was forensic how they knew the music. And to be able to turn to me, and I literally, for the first, I don't know how many sessions it was when they came around. At first it was just for fun, coming round. I was renting out the studio at an extremely high rate, because I thought, these kids, they don't know what they're doing. So I was charging them something like £1 an hour or something. But they were coming round and they started, and it was forensic. And both of them were sitting with it. They bought, because I didn't have a turntable. I had a record player, but not a turntable.
Also, I think, sorry to jump in, but people forget that rave music, when it first came out, you either knew about it or you had no clue.
Oh.
There was no, because it wasn't on the radio, it wasn't anywhere, so it wasn't weird that Nick didn't know about that music. You either found out about it because you were friends with people, or it literally didn't exist.
There was an age difference as well. I'd grown up with other music and stuff, and then when they started playing with this stuff, it's like, aha, this is really good. Because I was listening to it, and it was being, from what I could hear, it was being created by people that, I choose words carefully, they didn't seem musically trained, as in, I couldn't hear chords, I couldn't hear structures as such, which wasn't a bad thing, it's just the way it's put together. But I was listening to it and I was thinking, right, okay, so they're taking this stuff like almost like a pastiche of different things that they've heard, and then they're putting them together. Well, it's not hard. I could add to this by saying, well, let's try a little string section here. Let's try maybe a piano. They would say to me, we need a riff here. I go, oh, that I can contribute to. Yeah. Right? So I'd play it and I'd be thinking, okay, I'll play like half a dozen. I'd play like 4, 5, 6, 7 notes on a riff. And they go, yeah, it's great, keep that. And I'd be like, you're kidding. You barely scratched the surface. But then I realised and I thought, now we've got some scope to do other things as well. And they were absolutely up for that.
Oh, that was kind of the beauty of it, because we didn't know anything.
No.
Like that, all when you look back at early rave music, it's a bunch of music made by people that have no idea what they're doing. Most of them, like Nick said, didn't know how to play music, and it was kind of a blessing because we did things which you weren't supposed to do.
Yeah.
And that's why it sounded so good. I mean, some of it did sound terrible, no doubt, but a lot of the time it was people saying, "I've got this keyboard and it's got this wheel on it that makes things go. Okay, I'll use that all the way through." Or I found this funny noise, and if I play it up the keyboard, it makes this great sound like this. We'll use that. Because no one knew what they were doing. And if you look back, I've noticed it quite a lot. If you look back over the tunes that got quite big over the early years, it's almost always a combination of someone who knows how to play music and a bunch of people that don't in the same room. Because you get the best results then. Like when we needed like a good piano line or string, me and Tom couldn't have done that. Like Mary Has a Little Lamb would take me 10 minutes to play on the keyboard, you know. Nick would be like, just be doing all this great stuff. And actually, one of the things we did quite a lot was saying, Nick, that's enough. Because Nick had so many ideas. We're like, no, that's enough. I wouldn't have had the words then, but it was too good. Do you know what I mean? We just wanted a basic string and a basic piano, which Nick could do in his sleep, and me and Tom couldn't do for love or money. So we ended up with this nice combination where Nick would supply the very much needed musical elements. I would bring the samples together, and Tom would overlook the whole thing and make sure it stayed within where it's meant to be. Because
there was drifting, wasn't there, every now and then? I'd be off at a tangent.
We would all wander off into our own thing, and then one of the other two would go, absolutely not. We're going to go back to what we were meant to be doing in the first place.
Yeah. But in essence of the sounds that was coming out, a lot of also technology at the time. So the S950 Akai, for example, that delivered a sound that you couldn't replicate in anything else before that.
No.
When the S1000 came out, you could have like 2 or 3 meg. It was like, Jesus, we can sample anything.
You could put virtually a whole record in.
Yeah.
You could fit it. And it's like, oh my God, this is amazing. But now, of course, it's not.
Well, for the early days, we were just working with these really strict limitations. But at the time, though, it didn't feel like limitations. It still felt just magical that you could just take this stuff and do this.
But at the same time, it was great because then you were restricted to what you could do, and it made you work harder.
Yeah.
Now it's too easy. You could just throw loads and loads of stuff at it, and then eventually you get something right. You know. But at the time, you had to be careful about what you kept. And there'd be times when we sitting there saying, "There's no room left in it. You got to take something out. It might be a break beat or something that we can leave, or just chop in half and just have a little bit or whatever." And we'd have to do that. But now, of course, it's no issue now.
You get to the end of the whole thing, you crash, and you wasted it.
Oh yeah, that happened. The old Atari, as reliable as it was, it did have its moments, especially when it got hot.
So how would you guys describe your style to somebody that had never heard your music before?
I don't. That's not my debate. I don't know really.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because I think we started off with being like the stranger at the start of things. So the sort of first.
We're pointing at me. We like the stranger side.
Well, we do because the stuff we put together was completely what no one else was doing. But in regards to sort of, we put elements together like
No, we went into gang stuff for no reason at all. That was one of the joys of old rave music, though, because no one knew what they were doing. There was no way you could do it wrong. But some of the greatest things come from the fact that you're just kind of clowning around with equipment you don't really know how to use and deciding what to do.
Yeah.
Well, so our style was kind of a mixture of Nick playing really nice, because he did really nice chords and really nice music, and then I would bring in like hip hop elements, and Tom would bring in the rave elements, and it was like this clash of, you know,
it was a clash.
It was a clash of stuff, but that's how the whole thing was. Even when you look back, you would have a tune that was heavily influenced by the Italian piano scene. That would be mixed into something which was all reggae and all jungle and all breakbeats, and that would mix with something which was like Euro and techno-y, and we liked all of it. So any part of the tune where we're like, oh, how about a bit that sounds a bit like, and we would just do that.
With hindsight, after working for years and years after that, I realised one of the best parts of when we worked together, you didn't feel out of place by putting something in that you thought that doesn't really belong in this sort of genre. This shouldn't really be there. Because they were doing what they were doing, it was like, that's all part of it. And that's why I think when we did Bogus Adventure, I know we did a couple of tunes before them, when we did Bogus Adventure, there was a couple of parts in there with the chords and stuff like that where it's like, okay, this shouldn't really be in here. But that was a good style that we had, I think, there. The fact that we could add that without worrying about what other people are going to think. You know, what are they going to think? They're not going to play it because it's like got this in it, and it shouldn't have this in it because none of the other stuff that we've done, that people have done, have got this in it. So I've learned after that part of the style that we've got, I think at the time, was just them sort of saying, you know what, if you think it goes, just put it in. Let's just see what it sounds like. And also, it wasn't something we was constantly trying to sell it to someone.
No,
so when you're playing
around a lot of the time.
Yeah, and that's how it worked. And this was before Sesame Street. Sesame Street was after that, but again, it's the same sort of thing. It was like we had an idea for this thing, And in doing that, it wasn't just about putting a big riff and a big breakbeat. Chords in there, and there was structure, and it was, so that I would say that's probably a good style of just an eclectic mix of everything.
Even the sample from Sesame Street was just felt like doing that. Thought it'd be funny. It wasn't like the main part of the tune. It was just part of the tune along with all the other parts. I mean, things change as time went by, and the view gets changed. But at the time of making it, it was like, we'll just stick this in.
If you listen to,
I think it was one of those things when we come on to it, but how it sort of came up with the tune was that putting a beat with the Sesame Street and it was in the same swing, and it was like, hello. It just gelled together. We went, that was amazing. It was a coincidence, but we weren't thinking like that. But it just the two of them had the same rhythm to them. So.
If you listen to the very first version we did of Sesame Street, when it starts off with a kick drum going da 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 da, the Sesame bit was way in.
There was also the thing with samples, like now if you want a sample of something, say you want something that makes a whooshing noise or you want a gunshot or something, just go online and find it. You literally had nothing. Like you had nothing. If you wanted someone doing a countdown, you either tried to catch something about the space launches, a rocket launch on TV, or I mean you didn't have access to that. Your samples were what you could find on TV if you had a VCR and could sample it, and your record collection. And most record collections didn't have sound effects and pieces. Why, if you listen to the early Rave stuff, most of it doesn't have a lot of sound effects. So again, with the Sesame Street sample, it was most likely we just recorded it because it was on TV and we were in the studio.
It was an amazing thing.
That was how much thought went into it. Oh, that's on. Record.
They'd already done a session with this particular breakbeat, if I remember rightly. I already had it at home. And I'm not sure I was working on with that, but anyway, and I remember taking the sample and I literally put them together and they were virtually in time. It literally was like, I can't believe that these two have literally gone one on top of the other without any tuning, time stretching, anything. It just literally went together.
Like we could do time stretching anyway. That wasn't even a thing yet.
That was a science.
But that's also kind of an important point, because there wasn't time stretching. If something didn't fit, well, you should have luck.
Yeah.
That's not going to fit.
You could
but
do it.
There wasn't like that was the end of that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That idea don't work. That's done.
If you wanted to spend a good few hours on the S950, you could play around with it until eventually you got it right, and it would go in time.
I can still hear that noise of that wheel.
Yeah,
So once the Smarties Sesame Treat song was all together,
Yes.
when and where did you first play it out, and how did they react to it?
Well, we never played out.
No.
We weren't first
time we did a
DJ.
gig.
Yeah, it was led from the radio from the start.
It was from the start.
Yeah, so
Kiss.
Steve Jackson picked it up.
Tom sent in a DAT, didn't he?
Yeah. And so they basically just picked it up.
I heard it at a few raves. Like once it had come out on promo, I heard it like at Labyrinth and that, mainly because I probably gave it to a DJ and said, "You got me too." And because it had the logo on it, they played it.
I heard it at Orange, I think.
Yeah, it was a weird thing though, because there was a whole. It's easy to look at it as a commercial tune, but in the context of the thing, there was this movement. The rave scene was growing and growing, getting bigger and bigger, and it was seeping into everything. Like radio stations started playing stuff, and adults started looking around, and the newspapers were starting to panic about raves, and there was this kind of swell of stuff that was just below the surface. And Sesame Street came at exactly that point. The Prodigy broke through with Charlie, and it was just like. It was like the whole world suddenly started to notice this massive thing that was happening. So when we put it out, it did get played at a few raves, and we heard it, and a lot of people, a lot of DJs were playing it apparently. But again, there was no internet, so you didn't really know. You kind of just used to throw a record out and then just wait and see if it sold. There was no way to tell until the actual sales started. So initially, it was just another record in a bunch of hundreds of records that were coming out every week.
I remember Steve Jackson played it a couple of times on Kiss. After that, there was interest in it from more of the general public, because they'd heard it. Whereas, like Chris says, this stuff never really came out. I was never noticed in the mainstream at all. You'd never get anything played on Radio 1, but only when it broke through. And even then, it didn't play Sesame Street.
Yeah.
They only played it about twice, I think. That's only because it's in the charts. And they
They're obliged to, because they're doing the top 10.
They
They have to say, well, this is also coming out.
This is also coming
Goodness
out.
sake.
And straight to them.
It's not real music.
Just ignore that one.
It's easy to look back and say it was such a big tune, but I'm sure it got played a lot of places. But I reckon 50 promos probably went out. And they went out to DJs all over the country and all over the world, so they were the only people playing it.
So obviously your Sesame Street song is the track that everybody knows and arguably loves by you guys.
Arguably is the main word.
Yeah,
go on. A lot of people argue strenuously against that.
What other lesser known tunes have you guys made that you wish had got more recognition?
Hardly any, because that tune both made us and broke us in a way. Lose Control was by far the better track. Lose Control was probably, by any measure, Lose Control was the best track we made from that time.
Yeah.
Because one of the most annoying or frustrating things I found, that we did have a silly sample in our record, but we always, our flip sides, our B-sides were always serious tracks, and we were good at doing serious rave music, but it got so massively overshadowed by Sesame Street that... Yeah. I remember we talked about it after Sesame Street came out. We were like, "We've got no way of winning here. Like, if we do another silly rip-off type track,
we're going to turn it to Jive.
We're going to get murdered. We turn it to Jive Buddy, basically. And if we do a serious track, people are going to be, why didn't you do another silly track? Like we even at the time we knew
go back up.
There was no winning.
There was no return from Sesame Street.
So what we did was we made a really good track, and that was Lose Control. The vocals are good, the piano's good, it's really well made. And by any standards, if we hadn't have had Sesame Street and it had sold like it did, Lose Control had sold like it did, that would have been a massive anthem in the old school age. It's just that compared to Sesame Street, it was nothing. Of its own, it was quite big. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. With our new album and the new work we're doing, it's exactly the same. We have all that gap, like nearly 25, 30 years gap, then we get back in the studio, it's exactly the same. And it has the same vibe, and we end up doing the same, like, it's not the same thing, we're doing new music, of course, but it's still got that, it's the balance. It's the ingredients of it, you know?
I think it's the ability.
Yeah, one ingredient missing, it just all falls to pieces.
Well, it's, as individuals, you're still working, but as the three of us together doing smartest stuff, there's no way you could take one element out and then the other two could go on, and it'd be even not exactly the same, but even sort of with the same sort of feel about it. I don't feel that way anyway. No, I could be wrong.
Well, I've seen the same. Like, I've done a bunch of stuff with Jimmy J as Jimmy J and Crawley, but I cannot do a Jimmy J and Crawley tune without Jimmy J. It's the things he says, it's the samples he brings, it's the ideas he has, it's the bits where he says don't do this. Like, it's you can't quantify it, but I've tried, because for a long time I was in America on my own. I was like, I can do a Jimmy J and Crawley tune without Jimmy J. I can't do a Smarties tune without Smarties. You need everybody there, or it don't work.
I think as well, the ability to be able to actually put stuff in, you've also got the ability to be able to make stuff come out.
Yeah.
And when there's just two of you or one of you on your own, I mean, I do it myself with Bang, and it's like, I'm always doing stuff with it, and because I'm the only one that does it, there's a lot of stuff that goes in there that maybe shouldn't. It's too technical, it's too complicated, it's trying to be a symphony or something rather than just it needs the other two to go, that's not working.
Don't do that.
We've got to take that bit out.
Even the arguments, we used to argue about stuff, even those, it was healthy for the end of the product.
So I would like to travel back in time to before you guys were even Smarties.
Okay.
And I'd like you to tell me about the artists you looked up to as you were growing up and about the first album you ever bought.
Wow. Okay, I can start that.
Yeah, you can start that one.
Malcolm McLaren, Buffalo Girls, was my first 12-inch single that I bought. It was fabulous. Album-wise, I was trying to think album-wise. I think it was probably something along the lines of, it might be Mantronic, which is the first album, which was Kneel to the Groove. Fabulous song. Bass line. So that was probably my first album that inspired me. So rap artists, so Public Enemy and everything like that. So anything with chunky, really sort of abrupt noise, chaos, but that's brought together by a human voice on the top, and it's beautiful. Love it.
My first album that I bought was The Story of the Who, and it was a double album, and it was in a DIY store. I don't know why. My dad was buying decorating stuff for our new house, and it was in this DIY store on a shop and thing. And I really liked the Who. So the very first single I bought was Vienna Ultravox, and I went in there to Woolworths with my 99p, and I bought that. And then I went back in about 20 minutes later because I can't remember what happened. I think I missed out on my chips or something. I didn't get no lunch. Well, then I went back in, and I think I bought Return of Lost Palmer 7 by Madness. Ooh, I love Madness. I've always loved Madness.
How many for something completely different?
Well, I don't know how different it is. I mean, for me, my first records that I bought for me, where I knew I was buying something different, I saw Breakdance the movie, And I was absolutely fascinated by the dude in the background doing whatever it was with the record and the guy rapping, who turned out to be Ice-T. So I thought, I'll go and get this, because breakdance for me, they'll have a soundtrack. So I got the soundtrack. It hasn't got any of that stuff on it. It's just a bunch of songs. So I was really disappointed, and that set me off on a hunt for that sort of music, which led me to getting Ice-T Rhyme Pays, which I had to keep as a big secret from my mum, because the lyrics in that are... They're not the nicest. I mean, it's one of the best records ever, but back in those days, I think my mum would have had a heart attack if she had heard what it was actually saying. But that kind of opened this massive door for me where I was like, I like this, and then it was Eric B. and Rakim and Big Daddy Kane and Public Enemy and every type of hip-hop and electronic. It didn't matter what it was, from the crappy things like Whistle, Buggin' Out, and I would go back to old electro. Basically, if I could find it, I bought it. As soon as I heard hip-hop, I was like, oh yeah.
That was the same with electro.
Yeah.
When I heard electro, Africa Bambaataa and Houdini and all those sort of things, that's
immediately your brain goes, what?
Yeah.
This is it.
And I never stopped listening to it.
Yeah, I had that experience twice. First with hip hop, and then second when I went to my first rave, and I was like, I have never heard anything like this. This is, the actual day I went hip hop. Went to a rave. There was no gradual moving from one to another. I don't think I bought any hip hop for about 2 years after going to a rave, because I was just hunting rave records after that.
You guys have got new music coming out.
Yeah.
We have.
Tell us about it.
Oh.
Silence.
I think a good place to start is the construction. I think what's worked, what the difficulty I think at the very beginning was how we're going to get like we used to do, which is the three of us in the same room at the same time creating music on the day when we all felt like doing it.
Yeah.
That was going to be tough because before, when we all lived relatively close, I mean, you two lived practically next door to each other in Loughton and Buckerstill, was it?
Yeah.
So and I was in Buckerstill. It was relatively close, a short car drive. I think the biggest difficulty with this was the fact that we're all now separated and we're in different parts of the country. However, thanks to technology and the fact that we still had that ethos of being able to say, that works, that doesn't. And just one more thing on that.
No one getting upset about it.
And no one getting upset about
a baby. Like, if they don't like it, then that's fine. It's not personal.
And
it
it's
doesn't work, that's fine.
But it was great the way it worked. I liked the way it worked. I liked the way that there was an idea. I would sit there and put a few bits together, send it by email to these two, and then they would, that sounds all right, keep that bit, we'll take that bit out. And then that worked. I think that worked really well.
The roles have slightly changed, whereas Nick would be doing all the engineering now. That we're all capable of doing our own programming, so we all sort of know. You also know now, because of the age thing, that we know now what doesn't work.
Yeah.
So we know what to not do. We can cut out a lot of wasted time. Access to samples and sounds are a little bit are easier to get by. So we've got a whole album of new stuff that we put together.
One of the things that's great is after all these years, we all went our own way, we all did our own thing. We've all come back and all three of us have fine-tuned what we were already good at.
What we're good at.
Do you know what I mean? So we got to the point where we made some very basic decisions on how to make the album. Like, we put it all through my studio, simply because I've got an outboard desk and it gives it the same sound. For some tracks, I've done almost nothing on. Tom's constructed almost all of it, Nick's played the music, and all I've done is put it in the studio, EQ'd it, and just added like a tiny little bit. Other bits, like Nick's done the majority of the music, and I've added a bunch of bits, and Tom's it's been this really nice mixture of things where we've all been able to say, I've had this idea, what do you think of this? And then we would just throw our own piece in. Some of them would come out fully formed, some of them took a bit of work. And it was just, I don't know, for me, I thought it was one of the most brilliant things, especially this time in my life where we've all got a bit older, to be able to go back and work with the people that I first started doing music with, and to make an album that is, I think it's phenomenally good. I don't, it sounds really egotistical and I hate that, but sometimes you finish a piece of work and you're like, man, we did good. Like, we did good. We did a serious album that's uplifting and divulges into lots of different styles. And we didn't do a bunch of rip-off stuff. We could have done. We talked about that originally, because what is the true smartest stuff? But we, after umming and ahhing about it, we decided what we wanted to do was the things that we liked doing best, which actually was happy but serious rave music. All three of us are proud of everything that's come out.
Really,
but we did plan that from the start, because even when we very first got together again, we said, like, if we're going to go in this direction, let's have some what we want to do and what we want to achieve, what we want to come out with. And a lot of what we just said there is actually what we said from the very get-go, which is, I can't do all this stuff, like we're going to be going through. Do we do other tunes, jokey stuff, or are we going to do something a bit more serious, or what are we going to do? And right from the get-go we said, no, let's just do what we want to do.
Yeah.
And this is what we want to do.
It was quite funny, really. Had a big discussion, and then it really didn't matter what we said, because what we made was what was always going to happen. I think.
Yeah, probably.
Right.
Because we would have filtered it out and gone, do
Yeah,
that.
not doing that.
Don't do that.
No.
I think it's great. I think it's great that we've got. I think it's a real thing.
Well, it's nice to have a sense check, because obviously, in the Christian position he is, seeing all the music that's coming through, he's acting as a very good filter. So therefore, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
You can tell us.
And he can tell us.
Yeah.
It's also the case that we've got a mechanic to launch the album. Like, I don't think anywhere else would have taken the record on. And it was nice to have that sort of action. There's enough experience and understanding of the market that says, right, look,
That works.
if we did this,
Yeah.
does that come out of there? And he's turning around and going, oh yeah, this is really, it's really turning into something good. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh good, that's good. He could turn and say, I'm not sure about this. He never said that. He just said
No.
all the stuff added together, and he went, yeah, this is really, I like this.
I like the fact that some of the tracks go off in this direction. It's like it almost goes out of line, and it just pulls itself back in, and you end up with an interesting album. It was quite important to all of us that we didn't just have an album of 12 rave tracks. It just sounded like 12 rave tracks.
That's the bit I was frightened about.
So you'd just be like getting to track 6, and you'd be like, oh, for God's sake.
Yeah.
You never know with music how people are going to respond to it, and it may well be that people are indifferent to it or they don't like it. But I know that we've done one of the best things for my career. I feel like it's one of the best things we've ever done. But I also feel like it's the right Smarties album. It feels like a Smarties album that says, look, we have always been able to do this. We just never really got a chance to do this.
6 weeks.
6 weeks wasn't enough time. This has taken us about 2 years, hasn't it?
Yeah.
2 years of slogging away.
Yeah, just them emails backwards and forwards. But I think as well, again, it's that's not on the album that's telling.
Yeah.
The stuff that we chucked out.
There's a whole bunch of things that we all
Some
put
good
forward and we're
stuff
just like,
that's been thrown out, And it's like, it's a shame, but
it just didn't suit.
Didn't
It
fit.
wasn't Smarties for one reason or another. Even if it was good, it just didn't work.
I genuinely thought there's not one part of it I think, I'm not so sure about that bit.
So
That's because we caught it, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
It was a bit again. We had the time. There were various tracks where, like, Tom would phone me and say that bit's out of tune or that bit's not quite right. And because of the way we're set up now, because it all went through my studio, I could make those minor adjustments, and we had time to make them, to load the track back up, make the adjustments, save it, be able to listen to it a few more times, and go, okay, I think that's done. We had plenty of time with each track to be able to let it settle instead of just being like, finished, got to go.
Well, there was one. I think it's Silence. I think it is. And I did it indoors and nicked your break. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it was great.
But I had to put it in context. And I put it on there. And then when you did the final version, it came back. And I thought, that's basically what I put in my...
Yeah, because it was perfect.
And it was like,
that was
really
funny to say that after all that stuff about you couldn't do beats. You fucking did that, mate.
I did that, but I lifted yours. But when it came back and I listened to it, I was like, wow. I was really chuffed with that because... It actually fitted, and it felt like, all right, okay.
I think that's my favourite track on the album, actually. Because I love the vocals that we've come up with for that. I love the drums and everything, and I love the fact that it's got bars missing and you don't notice.
Yeah.
So is this album coming out what you would like Smarties to be remembered by?
I think we want. I'd say just it's to be a combination of everything.
Is it finished then?
No.
Are we?
Put it out and we'll just
I should have known you.
The Undertaker's at the door. He's got the tape measure out. Look,
It's going to be draped over.
I don't know about you guys, but over the years I've felt a lot of different things about Sesame Street. Like sometimes I've been embarrassed by it, sometimes I've been proud of it. Sometimes I've been like, fuck you all if you don't like it, because it made me the money to do Kniteforce.
Yeah,
sure. I've had a lot of different feelings about it, but in the end, I think I'm actually proud of it.
Yeah.
It took a long time to become proud of it because it did cause so much trouble, and it isn't, by any measure, it is not the most beautiful piece of work. Like, it's a fairly basic, pretty silly record all in all. Yeah. But if I had to be remembered by anything, and if all I'm going to get remembered by is Sesame Street, I would be like, I'm being remembered for something that was very popular and a bit silly. Yeah. Yep, that's fine. Yeah. Nothing wrong with a bit of silliness in the world. Everything's so serious, a little bit of fun.
I always remember when sort of post the sort of 4 or 5 years after releasing Sesame Street, and we sort of shied away from it slightly. And I used to go out with my mates, and we'd be in a club, and they'd be talking to a group of girls, and they'd say about my song, and they'd say, yeah, how he wrote the Sesame Street song. And then the girls would go, no, he didn't. And I went, okay, just give you this a context. And if I'm going to lie about a song, I lie about this.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It wouldn't be Sesame Street.
Well, I wrote Candle in the Wind or something. Just, you don't want to turn around and say,
True.
You're not going to lie about a
True.
song that's not.
That's true.
Yeah, but that was always very funny.
I've never.
So I think if we remember for Sesame Street, that's fine. But I would like it if people heard this album and went, yeah, they did that, but they also did this. You know?
Yeah. I've never been ashamed of Sesame Street because right from the get go, when it started to snowball, and I was watching and listening to it on the radio, and then I heard, I think it was Trevor Nelson, on Kiss FM in the summer of 1992, and he said, okay, we're going to not do the prizes for the guessing the top 5 records of the day or whatever that we do every day, because yes, again, it's Sesame Street, and it stayed there for about 3 or 4 weeks. So, and that was every day, and I even taped it a few times because I was like, this is just amazing. So I always look back at that and say, I'm proud of that, because regardless of what Sesame Street is and what the connotations of it afterwards, one moaning about it, oh, you killed Rave, I've had that, I've had loads of people tell me that, oh, it's because of you, we all went wrong. Yeah, whatever. But at the end of the day, like Chris said, look what it's created. I mean,
I sometimes joke that we're the reason there's Dark Jungle. Yeah, just to annoy people. They're like, you killed Ray. I'm like, no, we birthed Dark Jungle.
It came out from the...
Without us, people wouldn't have gone, not doing that. We'll go do this.
I think also it was one of those songs that would... people remember the sort of a joyous moment from it. So it's actually given someone a bit of joy.
Yeah.
It's
a lot of
just
people
weird.
really love it. It's been long enough that people go, yeah, it was a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, for a while it was a bad thing, but if you wait long enough,
I
it was a
remember.
good thing.
I remember selling a table on Facebook Marketplace, and some lady came back to me and said, "My husband's just asked you, Tom Alton Brothers Parties, you did the Sesame Street because we've got one of your records here. I can't believe I'm talking to you about buying this table." Like, yeah,
you should have said no. You said no. I'm always getting confused.
Yeah, it looks exactly
It's better than the time someone threw an apple at me as they drove past. Sesame Street.
I'm the dog.
Thanks.
Yeah, there's been a lot of. It's been an interesting.
I've never had anything like that. But I have gone on the back of it. There's been lots of things I've done where it's been like, okay, that is that bit what you were saying. That is that foot in the door.
Yeah.
Sorry. They look at you and they go, well, he sold so many million records, so must know something. It's worth listening to. If it's a load of garbage, if we don't want to take it on, but
falls on there. We didn't know nothing.
But it's so I've never regretted that, and have to say that if that's my mark in the world, fair enough. It could be a lot worse. Won't kill that one. Yeah. So, if that's my wiki entry, I'm quite pleased with that.
Okay, that is a wrap.
Thank you.